I want to achieve a few things with this video. The central thing, or the primary thing, is I want to tell you a little bit about a friend of mine named Red Herring, who almost 2.5 months ago went to be with the Lord. I want to say a brief thank you to everybody who wished me a happy birthday recently. I'm really grateful. I'm always grateful. I actually put a video in place last year, and I'll post a link to that again. My sentiments are identical now to then. I'm always overwhelmed with people's kind expressions, taking the time through text, phone calls, Facebook post messages, everything, all of it. And I'm going to ask for a birthday gift as well. So I'm going to ask for a birthday gift from literally every single solitary soul who endures to watch this toward the end. But I'll put timestamps so you can just jump toward the end if you want. So, but again, I want to tell you about my friend Red Herring. It's taken me this long really to be able to talk about him, and even now I'm gonna to do so I'll anesthetize myself a bit, or I wouldn't be able to say much apart from doing that. So this isn't any attempt at a eulogy or anything like that. I've done memorial services for people, and I know tons of people have reached spoken at memorial services. I always think this person has lived such a big life, whoever the person is, and Red lived a big life, an especially big life in a unique way. I don't know what words can be said. Any words that can be assembled, obviously, they're so far beneath who a wonderful person is, and that's a given, but I'm going to say it anyway. So, one of my favorite scenes in a movie, unrelated to all this, is Pretty Woman, where Richard Gere and Julia Roberts, Vivian is her character name, I think, they're on an elevator going down. She's in that red dress, has the necklace on where he snapped the case shut on her finger, and now they're on the, she's got these long white gloves on. He looks dapper. They're about to fly to see an opera. So they're on the elevator, and I love what she says. She says, in case I forget to tell you later, I had a really good time tonight. And so, in case I forget later, because when I last year said thank you for the birthday wishes, my main thing was I wanted to reflect on experiences that I'd shared with my niece. And so, in case I forget to say it at the end of this video, just want to say much love, and I hope that you catch it in your heart. So here is who I experienced Red Herring to be. And I've jotted a few notes here that are out of your sight, but you may see me flip the page here and there. Got a few pages that I've jotted. This is the secondary thing about him, because I'm going to say the primary thing last. The secondary thing about him, but having said that, it is way up. It's like in both of these things, he has so many standard deviations from what you experience. So even though this is a secondary thing to the primary, because the primary is shining like the sun, so anything other than that becomes a secondary element, obviously. So, but I don't want to diminish it because it was so important in who he was. So, with all that as the preface or precursor, Red Herring was one of the servingest people I have ever met in my life. The first time I ever met him, I was working on a church staff, and he showed up at this event with his son, Richie. and a friend of Richie's named Dale Elisha, and he said, I had never met him, and he walked in and he said, I'm here to serve. And in my life, I've probably heard him say that maybe 2,000 times in different contexts, where he would say, I'm here to serve, or we're here to serve, where he and Faith would show up together. I'm going to pause for just a minute. And he would also say, how can I serve, or how can we serve? And even though he would say it in kind of a cutting up fashion, he was such a brilliant joker, such a brilliant, warm source of fun and life and serving. And the other thing that I'm going to hold out and not say the word until I get to it as the primary thing. But all those things, he was able to walk in and say that whole serving thing all the time, even though he was kind of faux bringing the spotlight on himself. His personality had such humility, or his character had such humility, that it was a tongue-in-cheek kind of thing, but with all the sincerity of really serving. And so I thought often of him with Mark chapter 10, Jesus talking about himself at one point. I think it's verse 45. He says that he came not to be served, but to serve. He goes on to say, he says that he came not to be served, but to serve and to give his life a ransom for many. That's who Jesus is. But just that segment, he came not to be served, but to serve. It's pretty incredible how effectively and relentlessly Red Herring did that. Same thing. Arrived in place after place after place after place, with person after person after person after person, not to be served, but to serve. And it's very unusual. I would offer. He is a very unusual person in countless good ways. The second thing is, even the more primary, as prominent as his heart for serving people was, and it was so prominent, superseding that was something that was on par with a person whom we get gain acquaintance with in Acts. In Acts chapter 4, there's a person whom we meet. His name is Barnabas, and we learn there. Sorry to be jostling that pen. We learn there that his name means son of encouragement, or son of consolation. It's from a Greek word. The Greek word there that's used is paraklesios. And I don't even like to say Greek or Hebrew or Aramaic, this or that, because so this has to be a little parentheses, but a necessary one. Number one, I'm not a teacher, I'm not a preacher, I'm not any of those things. I'm very much just a dude. And but I'm only referencing that one word, this one Greek word, because even though you don't need Greek or Hebrew or whatever to understand the Bible, you can pick up your English Bible, your Spanish Bible, your Braille Bible, your Mandarin Bible, your whatever Bible, and read it, and and it is awesome, and God uses that to give you what you need to see. So I'm doing the reference of a Greek word with a little asterisk on it, but I typically don't make reference to that kind of thing. But this one's kind of cool. So I wrote it out. This is Paraklesios. I just jotted it briskly on here. And let's see if that camera will even pick it up. I don't know if it will or not. There we go. And so here's what it is. It's actually two words that come together. This word right here, having to look under the card, is para. Those first four letters are like our P-A-R-A. And then after that, with that one that looks like a K, is klesios. And so it's two words that come together. It's para and klesios. And the para part is alongside or with or adjacent to. It's that kind of thing. Klesios is called. It's not like Carly Rae Jepsen. It's not call me maybe. It's called definitely. And so, and not on the phone, but called as in brought there alongside. Para, we use that. We get that same root shows up in some of our words. Parallel or parabole. Parabole is, you probably remember, or parallelogram. That's an easier thing to think of than to try to draw out a true parabole. A parallelogram is, if you remember, it's two. You've got two sides, and they literally hug each other. That if this one moves, that one moves with it. They're exactly parallel. So you've got the top and the bottom, which are parallel, obviously, one to another, and then you've got the sides. And if they rock this way or that way or whatever, they remain parallel. So wherever that one is, this guy is right there with it. Parallel para. So paraklesios is the idea of being called right alongside, being called right, immediately parallel to, immediately adjacent to. And it's the same word, by the way, it's the same kind of reference that's used for the Holy Spirit, the one who's called alongside us. And I can remember at Columbia, about 4 centuries or so ago when I was studying there, one of our profs, he was a great person, Cliff Bedell, he gave a good illustration of paraklesis or paraklesios, and it was the school at Columbia. There were a couple of hills that rocked up and down, and then there was this tall boulevard coming into the final portion of campus. And he referenced these 2 grad students. It was a husband and wife. They rode their bikes each day onto campus. They had them loaded down, they had themselves loaded down with their lunches, their books, and so on in a book bag. And he said each morning that he would drive onto campus, that the wife would be riding up where the hill gets fairly steep, and he said each time the husband would come right alongside of her, immediately alongside of her, and he would get his bike close to her bike, and he would take his right hand and he would put it in the small of her back, gently but clearly but firmly, gently but firmly place his hand in the small of her back. And while she would pedal her bike, he would pedal and really grind so that he could, with his hand in the small of her back, help push her up the hill and keep her going where she was struggling to move forward. And that is a good picture of the Holy Spirit, of Barnabas, and of my friend Red Herring. His daughter Susan called from his bedside probably about 57 hours before he went to be with the Lord. And even in that call, Marie knew what was imminent. his primary focus was one thing only, and that was through that whole phone call where he and I were able to talk. Almost all he did was invest energy to try to encourage me. I wish everyone could have a red shirt. And you're off. So even there, we'd arranged the call, and Susan called and put us on speakerphone, and even there, I'm going to pause again. So I think I may have said it before pausing, and I don't want to do any editing on this. I just want to run it to upload it. I just found it astonishing. I should not have, but I did find it astonishing that shortly before going to be with the Lord, Red on the phone call would find yet one more opportunity to place his hand in the small, not of my back, but of my soul, and cuddle with me. So I'm ready to request my birthday gift. My birthday gift is this. Maybe between now and Thanksgiving, or now and the end of November, I want to encourage you to watch carefully and see if you can find somebody, maybe in your home, maybe in your neighborhood or workspace, maybe a friend you haven't chatted with in a while, maybe a random stranger, I don't know. But maybe you would be able to eavesdrop on and notice and take into heart someone who is pedaling, and maybe is pedaled hard and is almost ready to give up on something or some things, maybe important things. Maybe somebody who feels like he or she cannot grind the pedals one more revolution, one more rotation of the pedals. And maybe you would have an opportunity to find some way, in a red herring and a Barnabas and a Holy Spirit-like manner, to ease up alongside that person, not to be noticed, because I think that can make people feel uncomfortable too. But maybe to ease up near that person in a non-threatening way and place your hand in the small of that person's soul and pedal with him or her and let him or her know that you're doing that. So that's your mission if you choose to accept it. And your mission should you choose to accept it. And if you do, well, two things. If you have a good experience with it, I encourage you, try one experience a month for the next 12 months, or even more, maybe more frequently than that. And who knows, maybe you'll do that enough that it will become, and maybe I would do it enough that it would become part of the fabric of our souls. It definitely was with Red. There's no doubt about it. That was one thing. The second thing is, the warning is there will be cost. So you'll burn calories to get alongside somebody and pedal with him or her, placing your hand in the small of their back, i.e. their soles. Then there will be price tag on it. And I don't know how we measure those price tags, and we'll have to do it differently and know what we can do in that thing, obviously. So I have, if you look right here, I get joked about this all nonstop, and I don't care. I've been joked about it for almost 25 years now, probably 25 years. It's weird because I'm only 28 or so. So I have all these Beanie Babies, and what happened is I started giving Beanie Babies to people like for their birthday, stuff like that. And I'd say, you remind me of a such and such, and they would get that animal. Or I'd write some little poem or Bible verse or something, or a quote from somebody. And so people started giving them to me. And so all these Beanie Babies, I get joked at how effeminate I am about the Beanie Babies. But I will offer this. You've got to be quite masculine to be willing to have Beanie Babies on display and endure all the taunting that makes its way to you, and I'm willing to endure it because each of these Beanie Babies remind me of people whom I love. It reminds me of this family or that, or this person or that, so on. So, and I don't name them. I've named a couple, but I've only named a couple. But all that said, Red is a graduate from Auburn, and so a lady, one of my dearest friends of all time, named Helen Gamble, who served as a missionary and with her husband Norman in Kashmir, Pakistan, primarily. She gave me a long time ago, and in fact, these two things right back here, I can see this and the little pink one adjacent to it a little bit further over, right there, right there. She gave me these. These are the two oldest things that she wrote. She grew up poor in Minnesota. And these are the two oldest and meaningful things that she remembered from her experience with her family growing up and with her mom. So I always keep them close in my heart, in my soul. And she gave me this little eagle. So because Red is an Auburn grad, and I have an affinity for some Auburn people, I've elected to name him Red Herring, and I simply encourage you to be like Red Herring, and you might even be the wind beneath somebody's wings in an eagle-like fashion. If you read about how eagles float on the wind, you could be the wind beneath their wings, and I hope that you'll do so.